What's up, YouTube? Jeffy, I am. Welcome back to the channel. It's been some time. Come on in, have a seat. We on time today. First and foremost, I hope everybody had a nice, pleasant Thanksgiving. I hope everything went well. I hope people got to enjoy their family or at least take the day off. You know, it's a lot of things to talk about. But people talk about mental health. Let's talk about the healing. This holiday season was different for me. This the fourth year after my TBI, my traumatic brain injury. And this holiday season, even though I'm up and around, I have younger children, one in college and one that's still in high school. And they doing their thing nowadays, you know what I mean? And I'm blessed and I'm thankful. Now, when I want to talk about the healing, usually in the wintertime, bills go up. People are irritated. I woke up a day before Thanksgiving to some terrible news, right? An in-law of mine, somebody I'm close to, was part of a 6-part indictment in that city, right? And it hurt me. But we moved past that, right? My day started off kind of rough. Even though I was feeling well, I had that on my mind. So I kept searching and searching for some answers, and I really didn't have any. So in this situation, instead of being a burden to my family, I wanted to kind of think over some things and clear my mind so I can be helpful and be an asset. But all right, I get to the store. My kids needed some food, and I need to get some of my medicines. So I stop, get my medicine. I get out of my car. I see this guy looking at me, right? And I can't lie. I was getting my mug on too, but then I recognized who it was. It's a friend of one of my in-laws. Well, he is one of my in-laws, and I hadn't seen him for a while. And last time we seen each other, we wasn't on good terms. To specify what kind of went on, he said some racial things to my children because I wasn't around and we had some words and I didn't see him anymore. It's been maybe 10, 12 years since I seen him last. Since he is family, I do, get a report on him every now and then. And he's had some ups and downs. So as I got closer to him, I tell you this, family. In my mind, I'm thinking I've had a brain injury, all this tough talk and all that. Let me see what's going on with him. So when I walked up to him, I extended my hand. He gave me a handshake. Then he gave me a hug. And family, it made me think because we sat there and talked for about 15 minutes. And bygones were bygones, and we actually joked about the situation. And I made myself clear on some things, but I was able to listen to his side of the story, which didn't make any sense to me. But we shook, and he gave me a hug before I left. But it made me appreciative that I was able to have a conversation with a man instead of the arguing and all the stereotypes that come, with these situations, right? So when I head to the grocery store to get my dog's food, as I'm checking out, there's a lady staring at me. You can tell they from out of town. And the husband kept, he kept mugging me and kept saying things under his breath, and his wife kept looking and she kept pointing. So as I'm checking out, she walks closer. And I said, "Can I help you, ma'am?" And she said, "You know what? Does your dog like that food?" Man, and we talked. And before I left, after I checked out, her husband was still over there messing with the self-checkout, having some issues. I said, "But since you are here from Colorado visiting, let me buy you a turkey." So I bought that turkey. I didn't buy the groceries, I bought that turkey. when I got in the car and I was pushing home, it just made me think as the world goes on, it's so many things to be upset about. But how are you going to find your peace? I always revert back before my accident. I was at a point to where I felt like I found my peace. My mother was living with me. We was under the same roof and things were good. Things were good. Baby was going to nursing school and this property here was nice, you know what I mean? Everything was established. And I come here on the weekends because I had vehicles here. And I say that to say this. When you get middle age and things that you think are important, they are in certain ways as far as like, having good transportation, especially having a nice place to live. But it really doesn't mean anything. And to say that is, I've been trying to heal. I've been looking for something since my life has changed. And I make content on certain things that affect me, but I deal with certain type of people every day. And the dialogue is different. So I'm growing as a person. And I feel as I continue to grow, I learn different points of view. Having the knowledge, brings some understanding. You gotta have wisdom also. But anyway, on the ride home, I started just going through the different things going on. Then I realized I talked to 3 of my daughters this morning. I talked to my father this morning. I'm okay. Because, 2 years ago, I couldn't be able to do that without help or assistance. And then on this journey, like I said, we do so much. We have so much going on in our lives. Sometimes it takes things to slow you down so you can actually think straight. And when I started thinking in July, it was the first time I got to travel by myself. I didn't have to take a service dog. I didn't have to have anybody with me. I did it on my own. When I got out the terminal and I looked around, I seen my brother and my nephew, man. Man, I spent time with my family in Texas. Even though a lot of places I'm not familiar with, my memory, leaves me sometimes. Some things I did remember. But the whole time I was down there spending time with my family. Okay, I started accepting. Okay, my body is going to do as it's going to do. We got some more work to do. But mentally, the healing started then. Because being with family, I felt at a peace where I slept, I ate, got to play with my nephew and my niece. I got to sit down and talk to my brother, visit with his wife, my stepmother, my father. I even checked in on some people, that I used to get down with over social media, had some good conversations. That's when the mental healing started then. And I attribute that to like now, instead of voicing out an opinion or not knowing what the people wanted, and especially seeing someone who was not that nice to my child, able to talk and work through them situations. Growth and maturity is very important. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And even though things are going on and times are changing, I found a certain type of peace. I can get up in the morning, go out the backyard, look at all that land back there, and breathe fresh air. I got my buddies. They always ride shotgun. But I found my peace. And maybe I can help someone's situation or give them better information or at least something that if I know, maybe I can pass it along and they can, do the same thing to me, in return. That's just my opinion. In order for you to absolutely find the peace that you need, the peace that's going to motivate you and to get you through, you have to work on it physically and mentally. If your body's not healthy, if your mind's not healthy, I believe you don't get the results that you really need. Just something to think about. So with that, I want you to be aware, be informed, and please be safe.